Hello there and welcome back to another video. So in today's one, we're going to go through a quick little tutorial on how to set up a browse abandonment flow for e-commerce stores. Now it's pretty safe to say that this exact flow has helped us to generate hundreds of thousands of dollars in email marketing revenue for our clients, and I'm sure it'll do the same for your brand or your clients as well. Now you probably can't see it because I have the laptop just below the camera here, but what we're going to do is we're going to go through a Loom video, go through a few different kind of technical setups and how you can send the right message to the right customer at the right time. Now before we dive in, I'd really appreciate if you could hit like or hit subscribe or whatever you want to do, just so we can get these videos out to even more people. Now let's dive in. Okay, so we're in. So now we come to the flow section of Klaviyo, and what we're going to do is we're going to pick one of the pre-selected flows. So obviously we're going to be looking for browse abandonment. If you can't see it up here, you can just type it into this little section here. Now this store that I'm actually currently doing this video on is on Shopify, so we're going to click the one that is to do with Shopify. So I'm going to click into here. We're just going to call this test just for the purpose of the video, and it's triggered by viewed product, which is correct. So now we're going to come into create flow. So while that takes its time, I'm just going to say that we're going to first of all go through how we could split this flow up based off of what different product categories customers were looking at. Because for example, let's say you're running a clothing store or something like that. If you have, let's say, jumpers, t-shirts, pants, you might want to segregate out the browse abandonment depending on what product category they were looking at, so you can make it a bit more personalized. Now what we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to check the flow filters. So that's just quite important. So we're going to click into the flow filters. We'll just talk a bit about them, what they mean, and so on. So I'm actually going to click to make my video a bit smaller there, just so you can actually see the full trigger setup. So what someone has done or not done, checkout started 0 times since starting this flow. So that's correct. So basically we don't want to send this browse abandonment to anyone who has started the checkout process, because if they don't complete that, they'll then go into the abandoned checkout flow. So we want to ignore, or avoid, I should say, giving people 2 flows at once. Same goes for the placed order. So we want to make sure that they haven't placed an order throughout this flow, because we don't want to keep following up with them if they have already made that purchase. And this is a bit optional for brands. What we normally do is we normally say we don't want to give this flow or send this flow to anyone who has been in this in the last 30 days. And that's just so we don't annoy customers. Now some brands want to put this down to maybe 14 days. We have some brands who prefer having it much higher, maybe 45 days or something like that, but it's completely down to you. Now I would add in another parameter here that isn't automatically in the browse abandonment setup, and we'll want to make sure that someone has not added to the cart as well, because we don't want them getting both the browse abandonment flow and the added to cart flow as well, or the cart abandonment. Now if you're on Shopify, bear in mind you have to set up the added to cart tracking separately. I can make a separate video about that, but it's very easy. If you literally just look up online added to cart metric Klaviyo, it'll bring you through step by step how to do that. It just involves putting a little snippet of code into your Shopify store. It shouldn't take you any longer than 10 minutes, but we'll want to make sure that they've added to cart 0 times since starting this flow, because again, we don't want to keep following up with them if they've already went further down the funnel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save that. We're going to click done, and I'll just put my camera back on there. So fine, we have our flow filter set up. Now next is the time delay. So this is again very dependent on what you want to do for your brand. What we found works quite well is a more like aggressive time delay, so maybe 20 minutes to 45 minutes, maybe up to an hour. In my experience, I found 2 hours to be too long, but again, that just completely depends on the brand that you're running. I'm not saying that 2 hours doesn't work. Sometimes I've seen brands make it work with 4 hours, so it completely depends. It just comes down to testing your time delays, and that's something that you can test ongoing to find whatever best time delay applies for your brand. So now that we have all that set up, we have our first email. So in the first scenario, what we're going to do is we're going to split this based off of product category. Now, how you can do that is, again, I'm going to make my video smaller. I'll just leave it smaller for the rest of the video, just so I'm not going to and from it. But we're going to put the trigger split just below the trigger here. The trigger split has to be below the trigger, so just make sure that there's nothing in between the 2 of them. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and click dimension. So the dimension that we're going to pick is categories. And if the category that the customer was looking at, we'll say contains if that is, let's say, fitness, if the customer was looking at fitness products, then that customer will go down this path here. Now we might want to add in another trigger split. So we'll add in another one down here, and we'll just do this again. So we'll say, okay, dimension, we'll say categories, contains, and let's say the other one is going to be joint and mobility. So you might want to just pick your top categories for this, just so you can give like personalized recommendations based off of the exact categories that you want to push the most. And then let's say we could do that even again, but we won't do that because I'm pretty sure you guys get the idea. What I can do is I can literally just clone this, and the customers who are looking at the joint and mobility products will go down this way. Okay, and then anyone who doesn't fit these either these criteria, so fitness or joint and mobility, then they can go down another path where they'll just get kind of general emails. And I'll clone this again just for the purpose of the demonstration. So these customers will then get just a generic browse abandonment email. Now what we'll do is we'll also clone the time delay as well, just to make sure that everything is equal, and we'll clone this again just to make sure that there is a delay between when they looked at the product and obviously when they get the email. So that's how you would do it if you were splitting it up based off of product category. Now, obviously you would add more than one email here. You might want to have like 4 to 5 on each path. And in those emails, like maybe for the first 1 or 2, they could just be, I suppose, reminding the customer about the product that they're looking at, showing off customer reviews, testimonials, social proof, whatever you can show the customer to prove that your product is better than a competitor's or is the best choice for the customer. Now that's like a topic for another day. What we're going to go through here is just the technical setup. So we're going to save that. Now, that's what it would look like for product categories. Now, what would you do if you wanted to, let's say, and this is something that we do quite often, is splitting this up based off of people who have purchased before and people who haven't purchased before. So customers versus non-customers. Why would you want to split it up like that though? And the reason is because these customers might need varying levels of social proof in the emails. So for example, if you've already bought from a brand before, you know what that brand is about, and if you're looking at the products again, you're very likely to make that purchase. So for example, that customer won't need a discount more than likely, only maybe for the last email of the sequence. They probably won't need as much social proof, and it won't need to be as aggressive because they have that buy-in already. They've already purchased from the brand, they're familiar with it, so the messaging will slightly change. So what we're going to do is we're actually just going to delete this, and we'll go delete the no path just to get rid of all of that stuff, and we're kind of back to the start again. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to split this based off of purchasers versus non-purchasers. So first of all, we can pull in the conditional split here, and we're going to say what someone has done or not done. We'll go placed order equals 0 times overall time, and we're going to click save. Now in this instance, what's going to happen is, we'll just clone this first so I can explain it more correctly. What's going to happen here is customers who have never purchased before will go down this path, and customers who have purchased before will go down this path. So this would be non-buyers and this would be buyers. Now again, it's going to be really important that you split that up so you can obviously give varying levels of social proof, and you can be a bit more different in your marketing. You can be slightly more aggressive with non-buyers because they just need a bit more convincing. Now that is how you would split it up based off of product category or based off of non-buyers versus buyers. There are a few other ways in which you can split this up based off of like the value of the products that the customers were looking at, the amount of products that customers were looking at. But in my experience, these are the two methods that I found to work the best and to make it a bit more personalized. So hopefully you found this video useful. Hopefully you can implement this into your own business or for your clients' businesses. And if you like this video, please subscribe, please hit the like button or whatever you want to do, just so we can get these videos out to more people. And yeah, I would really appreciate that. And I'll see you on the next video.